Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. An anachronism is something that's out of time, or I guess by definition, against time. A digital watch in a film noir from 1940, for instance. But film composers and theater composers, like I am, frequently use instruments and musical textures that are anachronistic to the time period that they're scoring. The show I'm working on right now takes place in the Middle Ages, but I'm going to go ahead and use some anachronistic elements. Let's look at it today. Anachronism is not a dirty word. Listen, before we get into the video, I want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Just hit that subscribe button. The channel's growing rapidly now. I'm doing videos every day, and the content is directed right at a producer who wants to get some use out of music theory without having to deal with a lot of the baggage ordinarily associated with it. Our regular subscribers really have created a pretty amazing community here, and I'm very proud of what's going on. Let's get to it. Let me show you the template, which you've seen before if you looked at any of the other Dunsinane videos so far, and we'll talk a little bit about what's happening. All right, I'm going to close the mix window and just talk about the instrumentation. First of all, if we're in the Middle Ages in Scotland, what kind of instruments would we have? Well, I guess, bagpipes and drums and fifes, pipes, as they say, some plucked string instruments, and we want to allude to those. And in fact, I am using some plucked instruments like the harp. But I've put a delay on it in order to create a little propulsion, completely anachronistic. I love the sound of the key harp. It's kind of a pretty old-fashioned sound. We've got a flute as well as the beautiful feathered flute, a new instrument from Labs. And I'm using the ethereal patch to create texture. But beyond that, I'm using now, I guess I would just describe them as conventional Western orchestral instruments. But I'm using unusual sample libraries. For instance, the string evolutions patch here is an Albion patch that creates an evolving texture as the instrument is held down. It gets gradually more animated. And the same thing is true of the cello and brass multis. The use of evolving textures like the solstice patch or something from the Untamed series, which I'm also using the cello Untamed, it is that if I sustain a long chord, I'll get a constantly evolving texture. The same thing's true with using controller data to change, say, filter or volume. I've done that here. My colleague Martin Heidenreich has recently done a terrific video directly to that point, how to use evolving string and brass textures to support melody and to support sort of epic composition. The page of the script that I wanted to look at is transition from one space in the play to another, and it says the army prepares for winter. And then there's a long monologue. It says winter, and then we're going to use a projection to create some of the effect. And I want to underscore that. And I basically think of it as a kind of a march. It's like a bolero. So Ravel's bolero, I'm sure. I established the meter right away and a really simple evolving chord progression, just a simple 8-bar progression. Very straightforward. And we're layering in things here. And you can hear epic choir, completely anachronistic to the period. This vocal style would never have come in. You hear that here they come here, as well as you can see them here, the string evos, the cello untamed, and the brass multis, all conventional orchestral instruments. They have heart. They have a place in our emotional experience as listeners. And so I'm trying to get into that space that puts us in that feeling of kind of the austerity of winter, the loneliness of being far away from home, and also a slight military vibe, the snare. As the chord progression cycles, several of my instruments, including the feathered flute and the cello up here and here, are changing radically. Let's take a look at what's happening. Basically, we're sort of building the lines, heading higher and higher to kind of create a sense of rise. And I don't know if you've been tracking it, but the tempo has continued to go up. Using long sustained evolving holds in your brass and strings, even if there isn't a melody. Now, someone has to be talking over this, basically. It's designed to be underscore. The whole idea is that it's the same thing, but it's kind of constantly shifting, constantly creating, a feeling of a background, a landscape. And we're building to like a big sort of like release it moment. And I think I'm gonna get rid of the drums completely. And we're left with just those sustained sounds. I'm basically in D Dorian here. But there's a lot of vertical density in the harmonies. The chord progression goes B flat, C, D, F, G minor, A minor. No, B flat, C, D minor, F, G minor, A minor. It kind of constantly pushes us forward. The last moments are more open. And here I'm really relying on the evolution of those long tones to create excitement and animation. I'm also using controller data to swell and pull back. Anachronism is not a dirty word. The modern listener has a host of associations and preconceptions, emotional connections to sounds and harmonies, which wouldn't be appropriate, really, if we were actually, say, a musician back in 1050 in northern Scotland. Just, we wouldn't be playing like that. And yet the emotional truth of the story and of the sound can marry together to create the effect that we're looking for. And we see this kind of writing happening all the time to picture and to stage. I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe, ding the bell. I said it at the beginning of the video. I'll say it again. What we're doing here is a commitment to growth, to excellence, to your own interest in what's really important to you about your music. Well, I'll see you next time.